Hey guys, welcome back to the HPR Chronicles with Shakur and Smith.
Hey, what's up?
It's Wednesday, August 14th, and we're back at it again. And today we're going to talk about should you leave the hood when you become wealthy and or famous?
Okay.
And what the ramifications are and what could happen if you don't, you know? That's what we're going to talk about today, guys. Something we wanted to talk about before. We kind of touched on it one time and we said we would cover it. So both me and Crispy are going to talk about this today. This isn't like something I'm presenting from an op-ed or from an author or anything.
Oh, I get to talk?
He's rebuttaling. Very funny. He always gets to talk, as you guys know. But it's the HPR Chronicles with Shakur and Smith, man. And it's a podcast about history, politics, and race. That's what the HPR stands for. And we just try to bring it to you from somewhat of a pop culture perspective, not corny and uncool and, you know, overeducated. We want you guys to learn some cool stuff in a fun way. Definitely. We always try to break it down simple so that you guys understand. So I'm a filmmaker from Trinidad and Tobago. So I've traveled a lot, and I've always had a love for history and politics. Chris here, he's a veteran of the Army Reserve that works for the VA currently, and he also has a passion for history and politics and stuff like that. So for all of our new users, for all of our new listeners and viewers, if you're on YouTube, that's who we are. For everyone that always listens to us, you already know who we are, so you hear it again. So it's about truth, even though Chris and I are both African-American, or I'm from Trinidad, you know what I mean, we're both from Africa, or the real name if you look at that podcast. It's not this podcast is not about pro-black or pro-white or pro-anything. It's just about pro-truth. And if the truth offends you, we're sorry, not sorry.
Not sorry.
Hold on, let's do it again.
Okay.
Chris, you're supposed to come in with me. It's about truth. If the truth offends you, we're sorry, not sorry. There it is.
There.
You know what I'm saying?
That was much better.
Energy. Yes. That was much better, right?
My bad.
Crispy must have had a slow weekend in wine country. I don't know.
Or a busy weekend.
Or a busy weekend. Yeah, man. So, what's going on with you, Crispy?
Just my son's in town visiting because he's normally with his mother.
Oh, cool.
So it's good to have him in summer. So that's probably what got me a little distracted, just him being around.
Yeah, that's cool, man. But shout out to all the good dads out there.
Yes.
It's important for, if you're in a situation where your son doesn't live in the same state or same city with you, if you're co-parenting, it's good that you have him come in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He comes in from Wisconsin, right?
Wisconsin, yep.
Yeah, that's cool. So and let me just let our listeners know, my daughter lives in LA and I'm in wine country. Well, she's in Northridge, so she comes in too. She was here for this last week before summer break is up. She starts high school on Thursday, guys. I'm scared.
And you should be.
So my daughter is also here with us, but I take her back to LA County, Northridge tomorrow. So yeah. That's what's up, man. Yes, I just hung out with her this weekend, did some school shopping and stuff like that, and so it's good. Like I said, shout out to all the good dads out there, because not that many of us.
Correct. I mean, I think there is a good number, but there are people or men who fall off of their duties and neglect.
Exactly.
And this is changing the whole subject, but you get those. I've heard of men who get in a new relationship with someone and they let the new wife, girlfriend, whatever, dictate. And then that causes problems too, where they want them to forget and push aside their kids. And I'm like, how do you do that?
That's not cool at all when that happens. And I'm not going for that.
You brought, I was just thinking of something. Like, you can father a kid, you can by just birth, but you got to be a dad. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And being a dad is different than just father.
Just fathering a kid.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. It's funny when you said it, because when I date new people, I always say, like, hey, if you have a problem with my kid, we're going to have a big problem.
Oh, yeah.
It ain't happening. And as you know, I had a problem with someone that I was dating.
Yeah,
I almost had a problem with my kid, and I had to get rid of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, just, we're
personal about us.
As you can see, we're just here vibing. Nothing wrong with that. It's a podcast. But so going on to our subject today, like I said, we're going to talk about so the question is, Crispy, should you stay in the hood when you become wealthy and or famous.
And I remember after Nipsey Hussle died, I remember my cousin was like, real quick, no, you need to leave.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. So we'll talk about that for a second and kind of break down the reasons why this, that, and the other. And I have a couple of stories to tell too. I mean, we can go back. I mean, even if we want to just touch on some of the entertainers, let's talk about Tupac real quick. And the reason why I want to talk about Tupac is because DJ Vlad, shout out to Vlad. I met Vlad once, and it was so weird. We were in Hollywood at this place called Bossa Nova, and he knew who I was, and I didn't know how he knew who I was, and I didn't even know who he was.
Wow.
It was weird, and Vlad knows everybody.
Obviously.
So shout out to Vlad. Maybe I'll end up on his show one day after one of my films and stuff, but yeah, Vlad just did a whole series of interviews with Mob James, who was one of the Bloods that was a part of Death Row Record Security, and Reggie, you know, some of those other guys who was on Death Row Record Security and stuff like that. And he interviewed Keefe D too. It just came out, who was the uncle of Orlando Anderson, the shooter that killed Pac. And I'm not going to say allegedly because everyone knows that that's who did it.
Yeah.
Keefe D came on DJ Vlad saying, yeah, my nephew shot him, killed Tupac. I was in the car. So Keefe D was in the front seat, not driving, the passenger side.
Okay.
So anyway, it's funny because Mob James was saying that Suge knows that Tupac should have never been involved with that when that thing happened over at the MGM.
The fight and everything.
The fight and everything, because he's like, look, this is a superstar rapper. He's wealthy. Why is he getting involved with some street shit?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the kid who he went and took off on, Hit, was a known shooter, killer in the Southside Crips.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I know some of the Southside Crips, and I'll explain all that later. I have a story about this movie called Crenshaw Boulevard that I was developing in Hollywood some years ago. But I'll explain the whole tie-in. But yeah, I mean, he was a known shooter, and Tupac should have never been the one to go and take off on that dude.
Yeah.
Because once you get to a certain level of success, there's no reason or need for you to be involved in anything street.
Correct.
It makes no sense. Your value as an artist, as an entertainer, the people you actually employ is worth far more than you trying to
keep your street cred or something like that. Keeping it real.
Yeah, anyone else could have done that except Tupac. You know what I mean? And, you know, there were repercussions to be paid after that. And everyone knew it. And a matter of fact, Glasses Malone, who I also know, I haven't, you know, seen or talked to Glasses forever, but Glasses came out with a song called Tupac Must Die or whatever. And he did the whole music video from the perspective of Orlando Anderson and his crew.
Oh, okay.
It just came out. Yeah, it's been all over the media.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? And Glasses Malone, he explained how on a street level, especially with like the Bloods and the Crips in LA and Compton and all that, there aren't any rules, bro. They don't care if you're a star, or if you're not a star, or not. They don't care who you are, whether you're another Crip or Blood or just some regular guy in the street in Compton or LA, or whether you're a superstar like Tupac or say a 50 Cent or Nipsey Hussle. The same price is gonna be paid for messing with those dudes a certain way. They do not care if you're a star. So when Tupac took off on Orlando Anderson, the same thing was gonna happen whether Pac was Pac or whether he was just a regular guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, Sugar and those guys knew that. So all that stuff was just a huge mistake. But that was another example of someone, when you get successful or a certain level of success, you need to kind of carry yourself and act in a certain way and just be different. You know what I mean? If Tupac was there when that happened, security should have taken him the other way. Went back to his room, you know what I'm saying, with his lady, Quincy Jones' daughter at the time, and did his thing and met everybody back at the club later. He should have never been involved with that.
So another point would be is not only do you know what you should be doing yourself, but you should also surround yourself with people who are smart enough to have done that for him. Absolutely. Like if he wanted to grab him and been like, yo, no, hold up, we gotta go, rush his ass. Superstar. Yeah. And like you mentioned, your success is helping some other people, so your demise ruins can mess up lives.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Also causes a negative effect on all those people's lives that that's involved in your life. So that's just one example of reaching a level of success. It's still and I know this isn't him directly being in the hood. I know we're talking about, but to me it all relates to the same subject.
I mean, it's almost like any other rapper you hear about getting in a conflict with someone, with some. Well, it's a little different, but A$AP Rocky, you know, like if
case in point. No, let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Seriously, I didn't even think about A$AP.
Yeah.
But case in point. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can't be doing that. I'm sorry. No. Have your security do that. Yeah. If dudes are messing with you.
And, we don't want to just pick on rappers in a way, but, I just now want to think of like NFL basketball players, they're out. I can't remember. Same thing. It was a football player. I believe he was a Bears player. Not positive, but, just in general, a fan mouthing off on you. And I get that's wrong, but don't you have somebody with you to at least handle that person? And I'm not saying handle that person physically, but take them off to the side and be like, you got to go and, you keep walking.
Exactly.
Because I know the video I remember seeing, it was in an airport and the kid was, worked in the airport and he was mouthing off up to the player. And he just put his bag down. Like, okay, now I get you getting disrespected, but is it really worth it? Look, I think the other guy got in trouble because he wouldn't keep stop. He didn't stop, and he was being aggressive.
Yeah,
I get, and so maybe some point I would say that someone being aggressive, but someone's got to come in there and stop that stuff up. Absolutely. And usually they have an entourage of some sort. Somebody needs to take it. But anyway.
Especially when that's a good point. Especially when street stuff is going on. I mean, you have to take yourself out of it and have those people you pay in your entourage, your security handle stuff like that. Because there's no way A$AP Rocky should have been in jail for all that time in Sweden and stuff like that. And for him to. And the point I want to make is what's funny is usually when there's a celebrity or an artist, even though his security was involved to some extent, they're always going to arrest the celebrity or the artist to make a point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They want to drive it home like, you ain't doing that here. It's a different culture, different city, different laws.
Correct.
And Trump tried to get involved, and it made it even worse. But that's another example. Like A$AP, someone's messing with you, bothering you, walk the other way, have security take it. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
And I know those guys taunted him and they started it and all that, but unless they put their hands on you, and even when they do, believe it or not, you got to have security grab them.
Yeah.
Even when they put their hands on you, I hate to say
because I didn't touch anyone. Yeah. And, another one, and I'm going blank on the name, but was the kid who Gucci Gang.
Lil Pump.
And didn't he get gun charges?
I don't know. I didn't hear about that.
Oh, because that one, that's another dumb one where, and I remember seeing a couple of interviews where people were warning him. Like, you need to just slow down. Like, I get you're doing, you part of this, whatever. But if you now starting to be successful, if anything goes down, they're not worried about who you have secured. They first are trying to get you, and they're trying to take you out. And, I kind of want to say that's almost like, it's going to seem like a conspiracy, but they always go after the black person, the black man that has the most money, power, or whatever, and they're going to take you down. They're not worried necessarily about your entourage, which is, and if you got the money, then you can at least
they want to go for
take
the
care
person
of
at the top. Yep. That's how it is. I don't know if you were thinking about what's his name, NBA YoungBoy. But it could have been Lil Pump. 'Cause I know Young Boy has gotten into some stuff too.
Oh, maybe it is Young Boy. My bad.
I remember at Rolling Loud in Miami, he ended up in that shootout over by Trump Tower with the AK-47s and all that, and you know. And a lot of these guys are really talented, man. They become wealthy. They're millionaires off this music, but then they end up finding themselves in negative situations for no reason at all. Was it Lil Pump or no?
Wait, who did you say?
NBA Young Boy. Yeah, NBA Young Boy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had like, if you look up like shooting, Rolling Loud, you'll definitely see it. That could be who you're talking about. Yeah. Or if you look up shooting, you'll definitely see it. Yeah. But anyway, while Crispy looks that up, you know, let's talk about the neighborhood for a second. You know, if we transition into Nipsey Hussle. Oh, is that it right there?
Yes, it's a Lil Pump.
Okay,
gun charges.
For fine.
And he laughs it off because he has rich lawyers.
See?
Sorry.
That's that stuff. See, guys?
Now the charges was dropped, but still.
Why do that?
Why?
You're a young millionaire, talented.
This one, he was shooting a gun in the home alone.
Yeah. Why? For what? Anyway, but go. You know, like I said, transitioning into talking about being in the neighborhood. I mean, it's a lot of reasons why that's not cool. And see, what a lot of people doesn't realize. There's a saying that I used to say. You know, you can't perceive what you won't be. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And you won't perceive what you can't be. It goes in reverse. I know it's kind of a tongue tied there, but my whole point is what you can't. Oh, okay, so celebrities, entertainers, actors, singers, writers, whatever you want to call it. Believe it or not, and I'm not saying this to brag or boast or sound cocky, but all those people that entertain the world, whether you're a poor rapper, whether you're a film director like me, whether you're an actress, whether you're Beyonce, Little Pump, whoever you may be, Samuel Jackson, you name it. All of these human beings that for some reason were gifted to help entertain the world, they're just cut from a different cloth, right? Yeah. And they're revered in a certain way, which is why you have celebrities and which is why you have fans, because, you know, fans see in celebrities what they won't do themselves, and they're somewhat in awe and enamored by these people because they're like, wow, how is he or she doing that? Yeah, the talent the talent they have, whether it's Nipsey Hussle, whether it's Quentin Tarantino. I mean, I'm talking about everybody. I got you. So because you can't perceive that or understand or even fathom or grasp that, when it's around you, it's uncomfortable, believe it or not, because you're like, oh man, Nipsey Hussle is right. Oh, I just saw him I just heard him on the radio on my way here. And I got it. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, a lot of times you have the people in those neighborhoods and situations who are also jealous of you. Yeah. Right? Yep. Because what is jealousy, right? Jealousy is love and hate at the same time. The only way you could be jealous of something is if you really like it. Yeah. Because you'll never be jealous of what you don't like. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. So you know, you have this what did Boosie call it? I was just watching Boosie on Vlad TV this morning. He's interviewing Boosie right now, the rapper from Baton Rouge, and what did he call it? A something of hate. He had this word, this H word, and he's talking about how most artists are killed from people in their own neighborhood. Yeah. You know what I mean? And he even talked about how the kid Eric Holder that killed Nipsey probably had been wanting to kill him for years. Got it. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. They were from the same gang. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, in other words, it wasn't just that incident that, I mean, it pushed him over the edge, but he already had some disdain for him years ago. As he was growing as a rapper and the star rapper in Rolling 60s Cribs and stuff like that, this kid had it out for Nipsey a long time ago.
Sure.
He was just waiting for the opportunity to take him out.
Yeah.
Because he was just a jealous hater. Because, again, once you get on that level, people around you can't fathom that. Yeah. They can't accept it. They don't know how to act around it.
Yeah.
And they get jealous and hate you, and they want to take you out.
And what's interesting is if you just even put it in a smaller aspect, I mean, there's plenty of people who are watching this or have felt where you feel jealousy from a friend or just a coworker or whatever, and it's not even on the fame level. It's just that they, maybe you got a promotion or maybe you have a business and you're doing really well, you know, and they just hate on the fact that
it's all
like
relative.
So if you got people who are gonna hate, on regular people, then the fame
That's a really good point, Chris, because you're right. You could be at work or doing something more in a work type environment, and the same thing happens on a smaller scale.
Yep. And people will try and rat you, and will try to destroy your life there.
Yeah. And what's crazy, what I didn't know, talking about the Nipsey Hussle incident, Vlad read some of the court transcripts so far. He was talking about it on the interview today.
Okay.
And I didn't know that the driver of the car had taken a selfie with Nipsey earlier that day when they were there and all that. And Nipsey called the dude a snitch or whatever, and he was pissed. But again, I don't think it's that one incident that actually set it off. Like we just said, I think it stems from years of him being in Rolling 60s Crip, hanging, seeing him grow, watching him, being jealous of him. I think it was just pent up hate. And if you look at the video of the incident, the way he kicked him in the head before he ran off, everything, it's something deeper there. There's a deep level of disgust this kid had for Nipsey. You can shoot someone and take someone out, but you could tell it was very personal.
Yes. Yeah.
In his actions. And and going back to our podcast today, Nipsey should have never been in there with or without security. I know he had a store there and stuff like that. And if he was going to visit his store, it's one of those things to where he should have been security from top to bottom. Yeah. I mean, talking have LAPD meet there when he's going to the store. I mean, this dude was becoming one of the superstar rappers of our entire generation. I mean, because I think what the audience needs to understand is you have rappers, guys, everybody that's watching and listening, and you have superstars. Yeah. And there's a difference.
There is, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yep. Jay-Z, superstar. Rick Ross, superstar. I mean, I can go on. Then you have let's name some of the ones that are not. It's hard to even name ones that are not, but
I mean, I don't want to put someone down that
No. We're not putting someone down, but there is a difference, and I want them to understand the difference. And Nipsey was becoming his version of Jay-Z and Rick Ross and Lil Wayne.
His game stepped up where, you went from just being just another rapper to a superstar where your name is being mentioned and it's not being mentioned negatively.
Tupac,
like,
Biggie, superstar.
Yeah. Yes.
You know what I mean? Lil C's and those guys, rappers. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's a difference.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to think who else would be looked at. Because there's so many that you hear all the time, but then when you come up to it, it's hard to think about it. Because all the superstars stand out.
Stand out, yeah.
They all stand out, but I'm trying to think. There's a lot of rappers. I mean, a lot of the Lils are just rappers.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't want to throw nobody.
Yeah, we don't want to throw one under the bus. But again, those are the superstars. And when you get on that level, you can't be hanging in your hood. Because people just don't get it. They don't fathom it. And some of those people are going to actually hate. You'll never see a Jay-Z or Ross or 50 Cent or any of those guys hanging deep in their hoods anymore. It's just not going to happen.
And we're also not saying...
It's too dangerous.
Yeah, and we're not saying don't help out your neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. You can help without being there.
Exactly. And what he was doing, I think, was great and everything. Like, I probably would, if I, in the similar situation, I'd be inside.
Right.
It wouldn't have been outside just chilling and whatnot.
And it would have been security to the T.
Yeah, there would have been a difference, probably you could just walk in normally, but there would have been security at the door.
Yeah.
And there'd have been a someone next to me, whatever, but I wouldn't have just been chilling outside.
Nah.
Because anything, but
it has to be. I mean, it's interesting. People are just uncomfortable with success, wealth, all that. They're just uncomfortable, and it just trips me out. Even when people know you, they're uncomfortable. It's so weird to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? And what's his name? What's the one rapper name? Young Dolph. I remember at one of the festivals, his SUV was shot up.
Okay.
But it was bulletproof. So he got away.
Yeah.
And Dolph was smart.
Yeah.
He knew
I'm going to have you.
Because he has haters in Tennessee and stuff like that, and all
and that's
around.
where he's from.
Yeah, and that's where he's from, man. And he was like, dude. And then the festival wasn't there, but I just know there's people that he has haters and stuff. And he was like, yo, he went in a bulletproof SUV.
Nice. I mean, that's
and it saved his life.
Yeah. Good.
I mean, they were trying to shoot, and it saved his life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it just trips me out, man. So I remember when I was doing my Crenshaw Boulevard movie, because no one had done a lowrider movie.
Okay.
In the entertainment industry, and because I've always been in the cars and stuff like that, I happened to be a director. I was able to bridge the gap, and it's funny. A lot of the producers and stuff in Hollywood, they were a little uncomfortable with me going into Compton, going into all these gang-infested neighborhoods and stuff like that. And when I was getting my personal car done, that we would also use in the movie, I was hanging out with a lot of those Southside Crips and Santana Block and all these Crips in Compton and stuff like that. And these guys took a liking to me because they saw that I was real, you know what I mean? And other people had been down there in the neighborhood in South Central and Compton trying to develop a lowrider movie, but they were unsuccessful because anytime they would approach these guys, they would be like, nah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the lowriding community is like, I think 20 to 30% gang affiliated.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even though it's gang affiliated, people are still there for the love of the cars. The hop competitions, the shows and stuff like that. And a lot of these guys, man, it was tough. And I remember the first time I walked up to one of the guys, he was his name was Bo, and he was a Crip, and I forget what set.
Okay.
But I remember when I first walked up to him, everybody told me to talk to him. And I mean, he completely shut me down.
Yeah.
It was so funny. But, because I had hung in the streets before I went to film school and all that, I kind of knew how to handle it.
Yeah.
And I turned the situation around, and he ended up liking me and becoming one of my best allies. You know what I'm saying? And we're still friends to this day. But I had to befriend him and quite a lot of other gangsters in the neighborhood to get this film done.
Yeah.
And I ended up taking a lot of these guys to Hollywood for the first time. I ended up taking big executives down to the neighborhood for the first time.
Okay.
And I was able to literally bridge the gap between the gangsters, the lowriding community in Hollywood. And the film never got off for a lot of reasons, but if you guys at home and our listeners, just Google Crenshaw Boulevard, Imani Shakur, it'll come up and you'll see stories about it from MTV, posts and all that when the movie was in development.
Okay. Yeah.
But the story about it, behind how I had to go hang out in the hood, which is my point, was pretty crazy. And it's funny, a lot of them would say, man, a lot of the other directors, they won't come down here the way you did, but and I did it. Did I want to do it every day? No. Was I scared shitless every day? Pretty much, yes. You know what I'm saying? But it was something I did that I knew needed to actually be done. And I'm friends with all of those gangsters to this day because of this Crenshaw Boulevard movie. That's how I met all of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was a rough time, man. And a lot of times, and it's funny, they only understand certain things. A lot of these guys, they grew up in Compton, South Central, and they haven't gone any further than that.
Got it. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And they can tell you're different.
Yeah.
And you're cut from a different cloth from them.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a very fine line the way you have to kind of navigate hanging with these guys, man. And it was a blessing that I was able to pull it off. And to this day, if I want to get this film done, I can. I mean, pretty much every gang set you could think of in L.A., Watts, and Compton, I pretty much met and know the OGs. Wow. Every single one of them. I mean, from the jungle, everywhere. And they all know me. You know what I mean? And if I had, if I didn't know how to handle myself around these guys, things would have turned out much different.
Yeah. And if I may add, like what's in, hearing your story it reminded me of I was watching something on Vice, and the name of the thing is I'm losing it, but which I can look it up, I guess. But it was about different music. It was about music in different locations, and they were talking about Chicago. And being from that area, I was very interested in hearing it. And they were the point of it was making videos or, someone doing something, and not, someone going from Hollywood into the hood, but just being local rappers trying to do their own thing. Yeah. They have to be careful because shootings can happen. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And it was just, so my point in saying it is, one video as they were interviewing people, they definitely had to meet some people, talk to some gang members so that nothing could happen while they were doing the filming. So, I get your point. Like, if you wanted this to get done, not, you probably could get in there, hire some people, right. But you still could have issues. This, would hopefully prevent.
No, that's exactly what happened. Yeah, because I did it in that way, I was actually protected, and I was able to go down in there, get cars done, research the culture and the scene and stuff like that. And I was around and witnessed some shootings and stuff, man. I'll tell you guys one story. I don't want to bore you, but me and one of the guys that started the Compton Crips, we were going to one of his friend's house in Compton for us to do a deal on an engine.
Okay.
And we get rode around the corner, and as we're pulling up to his house, we get out of the car. His wife pulls up with his kids from school.
Yeah.
These gunshots go off all of a sudden. Okay. The kids didn't even flinch.
Really?
They didn't even flinch. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm not used to that. You know what I mean? And Kev, he asked me, do you want to go around the corner and see what happened on our way out? So we did the deal with the engine.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah. Going around the same block, we came back around, ambulance is there, dude was on the ground, he had gotten shot in his lower body and stuff. One of the neighbors was still there watering the grass, like nothing happened. You know what I mean? I remember at the time telling the film producer about it. He was like, man, we gotta get you out of there, we don't want you down there, you gotta finish this stuff, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, I was extremely careful. I mean, I'm not famous like Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, yeah.
But the fact still remains that, I'm not cut from that cloth anymore, and I shouldn't have been over there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
But I had to do what I had to do. You know what I mean? And but luckily, all that happened. Like I said, I'm still friends with those guys. And I was able to get out of there without having anything bad happen. But it was quite a few stories of some shootings that I could tell, though. Yeah. I witnessed quite a few. People died when I was over there, all that, doing all that stuff. Because I was in it. I mean, I was deep in the neighborhood.
Yeah, yeah.
Would I go back there now? No. I don't have a reason to.
Yeah. I think of I grew up in the south suburbs of Chicago, and it's rough. And then I lived in Wisconsin. Not so rough, but there were shootings and stuff like that, that happened, but it wasn't, something up the block, it's, it's like, holy cow, that's close, but yet you tend to, after a week or so, you don't think about it so much anymore.
Right.
But now when I was living in Chicago, it was kind of weird one day. I was working at home and I could just hear helicopters. And I was like, what the heck's going on? So I decided to turn on TV, and sure enough, news about a shooting that was like the block right behind me. So my point in saying is, I get LA seems to be a little different, and and there's rough neighborhoods everywhere. I definitely in the south, South Chicago, and the south suburbs, but it can happen in the city where it was an area that I would walk to. Like, it was nice where I was in a way, because I could walk to a park across the street. There was but stuff can happen.
Yeah.
Now,
absolutely.
The one thing I always felt though is you could get someone thought you were someone else, and you might get hurt or killed or whatever. But it always felt like somebody was going after someone else. Because there was one time after I was heading to get something to eat. It was around 5 o'clock in the evening. And in Chicago, where it's at, it's rush hour. So, I mean, there's people everywhere. And I remember coming as we were driving up to three corners. It's like Milwaukee. God, I'm just going blank on all the names. Sorry. But anyway, my point is someone got shot in the head. Police tape all around. Police are there. But it's like during a hot time when there's a lot of people around. So it's interesting that this one person got shot, but no one else, at least that I read and looked up, anyone else got hurt. So it's like it happened, and then they scattered. Like, obviously. So sometimes it always, when they talk about like violence in Chicago, there is the violence, but it's usually targeted at someone. I mean, there is those times that people have shot at, there were shootings along the expressway. Yeah. But most of the time, they're going after someone.
The funny thing is, that's how it is in LA too.
And so I guess that kind of brings back the point. Like, when you are successful, you could think, oh, I'm the man. No one's gonna really bother me. No, some people will come after you because of who you are, and like we said, the jealousy. So
absolutely, man. I mean, you have to hang around. Once you get on that level, you have to hang around like-minded people or people that understands where you are and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because I've never been the type to be jealous of anyone. Recently. One more point before we sign off on this episode. I'm in the process of being verified by Instagram on my director Imani Shakur post. So my agent sent me this thing where networth.org, they said I was worth $8 million or something. He said post that because we just did the verification thing. We want the people on Instagram to see it. Yeah. But what I think is interesting is that all of my friends, I mean, even in Italy, who are millionaires and gets that, they commented on it. But all my other friends didn't. And I'm not singling you out or anything, we're friends, but no one else that I know personally liked it, nothing. Yeah. But all my friends who are millionaires did. Okay. And it's interesting because, again, you won't be what you won't perceive. Yeah. So if you don't fathom that, and that's not even a reality to you, you're going to ignore it. Yeah. But I guarantee you, had I posted something negative, I would have gotten a like. You got the likes, yeah. You know what I'm trying to say? I know what you're saying, yeah. But no one clicked like. Yeah. No one. Only my wealthy friends sent me DMs. Yeah. Only my friends that are millionaires did. Because that's who they are. Yeah. So since they could perceive that, it's not foreign to them. Yep. I get it. They're like, oh yeah, man, that's dope. Blah, blah, blah. See you. And see what a lot of people don't understand. Celebrityworth.org, whatever that site is that does this research. Yeah. They base that stuff on everything they see. Yeah, what they read or research their ass off. They go, okay, he has a film, he has a kids movie out. That movie's in 90 million homes, which means in a few years, that movie's going to end up making so many millions of dollars. Got it. You know what I'm saying? So, and I mean, I can go on and on and on and on. They look at all the variables. What is deal at Universal is worth? Like, and that's how they come up with it. But again, people that that get that or fathom that or of like-minded, that's who's going to pay attention to those kind of posts.
Yeah.
Other people that don't fathom it or go, and for people that even questioned it, it lets you know where they are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's just interesting.
Well, you know,
it goes back to my point, you know, once you get to a certain level of success, you have to hang around like-minded people or people who understands and like gets you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, you make the mistake that Nipsey made and end up back in the neighborhood and stuff like that, just trying to be you and be yourself and help out. You may end up 6 feet under.
Gotcha. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because people just don't get it. They don't fathom it. And a lot of times they say that it's the entertainer or the famous person or the wealthy person that have changed, but it's not that.
Correct.
It's the other people that have changed the way they treat you because they view you in a certain way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? You know what I'm trying to say? It's so funny, man. Anyway. You have anything else you want to add, Chris, before we close out?
No.
Before we go to Today in History?
Nope. Go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. So we're at the part of our show where we give you some historical facts based on the day. I like this part because I end up learning a lot of stuff that I didn't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, I hope we shared some insight and stuff like that on.
May not have been in a lot of statistics and facts, but we were just coming from sometimes we're just going to give a, not necessarily, I mean, it's an opinion, just talk about a subject.
Something, a relevant
that's
subject.
Relevant, yes.
Yeah, that's important right now because these entertainers are dying trying to hang in their hood, and it's not going to work.
And that is history.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. Anyway, so August 14th, guys, Today in History. This is pretty cool. So in 1848, August 14th, the Oregon Territory was established.
Okay.
So for those of you who live in Oregon, today is your day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Another cool one is in 1888, a patent for the electric meter was granted to Oliver B. Schallenberger. And I haven't done all the research on that, but that was like during slavery or right after, and I'm sure you know, some slaves had something to do with that too, but never got the credit for it, which happened a lot back then. For those of you who don't know it. Then in 1896, gold was discovered in Canada's Yukon Territory for the first time. Within the next year, more than 30,000 people rushed to the area to look for gold.
Yeah.
August 14th, 1896. Okay, and I owe you guys one more because we do 4 every episode. And okay, so in 1917, August 14th, China declared war on Germany and Austria during World War I.
Okay.
It was today. Yep, 1917, man. So yeah, that's our show, guys. Thanks for checking in on a Wednesday with us. Don't forget to subscribe on ISENT Group Digital.
Yeah.
Thank you all of our listeners on iTunes, on Spotify, and all that good stuff, and Google Play, Buzzsprout, Stitcher. Thanks for watching on YouTube. Don't forget to follow us on social media.
Definitely.
It's the HPR Chronicles with Shakur and Smith. And peace out.
Peace.
We'll see you guys next Wednesday.